Hi, I'm Coffee Kevin, and I just wanted to. I mentioned that we might do a couple of some daily shorter um, visits, just because. Well, I don't know. We have some extra. We found we have some extra time on our hands. How's that? Anyway, I'm Coffee Kevin. I started writing about coffee nearly 30 years ago. I was employed as a video producer in the Chicago area, and I had drunk coffee since I was a small child. My dad used to pour coffee into my milk, and I like the taste. In case you're interested, hold on. In case you're interested, here we go. In case you're interested, it was always fresh ground, 8 o'clock coffee, as a matter of fact, ground for a percolator. Yes, I have had fresh ground coffee since that very first cup. Only later did I discover the canned product. I grew up not even realizing coffee was available in cans. My parents introduced me to fresh ground coffee, for that I'm eternally grateful. But my friend Bob Hennigan, whom I knew since we met in Evanston when I was 4 years old, introduced me to fresh roasted coffee. In the 1980s, he served me some at his apartment, and then he took me to the grocery store where he got it from. And I recall it was there in open barrels. I then found my own supply of roasted bean coffee packages at the Stop and Shop, which was a gourmet grocery store near where I worked in downtown Chicago. It was eye opening, even using my meager off the shelf Mr. Coffee, how good these coffees could taste. Also, found nearby, I found a shop that featured a guy who went by the name of Guy. He carried coffees that were maybe even more special. One's labeled Kona, Java, different Colombia. He was always touting this place or that as having the best coffee. And he had this beautiful fountain in his shop, the centerpiece. One day I arrived to find the guy and his magic fountain were gone. Meanwhile, I found a grocery store bean coffee that was surprisingly good. It was called the House of Miller Mocha Java. I was surprised because it was inexpensive and in a mainstream grocer. Nothing so called gourmet. But it became my favorite coffee to brew at home. It was just beautifully blended and roasted. Not that I could, at the time, really analyze things like this in detail. And it seemed fresh. And I'm looking back, I'm suspecting it was probably because it was roasted locally and likely delivered and stocked by the company itself. I noted it said fortified with Sumatra. Anyway, I did a little detective work and found the House of Miller Mocha Java was roasted locally by Richheimer Coffee Roasters. I phoned their office one morning from my job. A man named Dan Ephraim answered the phone. I told him I liked their coffee and that I might be interested in writing about coffee. I then asked if it might be possible one day to come visit their factory to see how it's done. He said, sure. And then, when would that be? I, I said, how about today? And drove there the moment I got off the phone with him. I took an extra long lunch hour. I got very excited seeing and smelling their roasters all lined up. It was a pretty big place. Dan seemed bemused by me and my exuberance, but he was gracious. By this time, actually, I definitely had a crush on coffee. I had to write about it. I had to know everything I could about it. I hope this explains why I'm even here today. Like my wife, Pat, I've never really fallen out of love with coffee. I love it all in its forms, sweetened, unsweetened, espresso, drip, siphon, even the cup-shamed percolator. All roasts, all origins. I published my first edition of my coffee newsletter, The Coffee Companion, in 1993. If you don't mind, I'm going to quickly read the first article I wrote. at least originally inspired by the visit to No, is Richheimer Coffee, plus some subsequent visits to other roasters, as well as a visit to the Specialty Coffee Expo in Seattle I attended a short time later. This is from Volume 1, Number 1. The lead story is 1993. Roasters, the New Rock Stars. As you read the pages of this hallowed publication, you will learn about many factors that add together to produce a perfect cup of what we call coffee. Let me tell you that there's a major variable that makes coffee more than just another food product. This is the individual who went over the edge years ago to devote their life to the art of coffee. With few exceptions, these pioneers are dedicated artists, entrepreneurs, with all the associated eccentricities. While aging musicians associate more with lawyers than fans, we must turn to a new generation of lifestyle leaders. My vote goes to coffee roasters. They have everything it takes to apply for genius status in our culture. They are in an industry where there are still precious few rules. Their product is totally subjective, and most importantly, they are almost completely ego-driven and alone in their various and varied approaches. One of the things I did when I first began researching coffee was to write down a list of questions I had never seen adequately answered in coffee texts. You may be interested to know that I have rarely, if ever, received the same answer from any two of these experts. This, I believe, is a key to what I love about coffee. It is a science so lost and in conflict with its value system, it truly seems to me that the product purposefully plays tricks on us to keep the game interesting. And is it not so with all of art? I've seen roasters put everything they know or believe into on the line to produce a great blend. During the process, they're like children at play. They are tireless, full of enthusiasm. This can last for weeks as they find the right balance of beans from one or several countries and develop a roasting strategy. Some roasters inherently believe that all beans should be first blended and then roasted together. Others are violently opposed to this, believing there is an ideal roast for each variety. After all this work and investment, I've seen roasters plunge into the depths of depression upon the first sip of their result. And why? Something, at least to their discriminating taste buds, is amiss. You see, art is not fair. This is why society allows a great range of behavior patterns for the creative individuals. Starting with this issue, I intend to profile the greats in the industry as I see them. I think you will profit from meeting the minds directly responsible for your favorite beans. Anyway, this was the article that started it all. I'm kind of laughing a little bit because I realize it's a bit over the top, and of course it's dated too. A lot of, I would say most of the specialty coffee roasters that I know, especially the small batch roasters, are probably less interested in producing blends, but the times change. At any rate, my personal manager, Larry McManus, sent a copy of this article to USA Today, the first issue, and they published a 2-sentence blurb about it. This resulted in building a total of 10,000 subscribers. I just thought you'd find this memory interesting. Let us know below if you'd like more. I know I've got time to share them. The next CoffeeCon Midwest, by the way, event is scheduled for October 10th and 11th in the Chicago area. I'll, of course, have plenty of opportunities to keep you informed as to whether that remains so. I certainly hope so. But anyway, I just wanted to take a little extra time and do so, and of course share my afternoon coffee with you. See you soon. I'm